Alright everyone, we start off today with an activism video actually, because a lot of times people will complain about the state of affairs, the economy sucks, there's wars and rumors of wars, COVID, etc., etc. But then there's no actual attempt, including by people with large audiences who can potentially positively impact a lot of people's lives, to actually tell them how they can get involved to try to change things. To the point where I think that one of the reasons that so many people are demoralized and blackpilled is simply the absence of that attempt to create any form of positivity for large audiences. Watch the legacy media and you hear about everything going wrong. You get very little suggestion about how things could go less wrong, other than one important thing, which is, well, vote for candidate A or candidate B. And as I'll explain, the problem is that oftentimes all the candidates suck. That's basically the fault of people not engaging in civics. We're seeing a huge shift in that right now. The far left has begun subsuming local and state power within, for instance, the Democratic Party. I'm speaking mainly of the U.S. here, by the way. We are seeing a counterblast to that which is many times more powerful, wherein populists and like the MAGA and post-MAGA crowd have subsumed enormous amounts of local and state power within the Republican Party. Of course, the latter I see is good, better than the neocons of the globalistic former Republicans like the Jeb Bushes. The former, the Democratic far left, of course, they're more independent, they've got new ideas, and I think they suck economically and would collapse the country, but an attempt is being made, so a gold star for effort. But here are 4 ways that I've thought of, and I've spoken of some of this before, but I figured I'd make a specific video about the subject, encouraging you to use these 4 methods to help to weaken globalist authoritarianism. With the neocon, neolib swill, the warmongering, lockdownerism, economic interventionism, all of the other bad, ignoring the border, crime, all of the bad things that we have to deal with. And these are 4 ways to help to reduce that in some meaningful way. Now, one person can only do so much, even if you have a large audience. This video will get seen by tens of thousands of people. 100,000 plus people will see me speak today. But even then, one person can only do so much. But if all of those people who absorb that material were to go out and do that, it would make an enormous difference. You're talking about the population of a decent-sized city, and I'm not exactly on the topmost tier of users online. Maybe on new tech, which is great because it's rising so quickly, but there are people with audiences of 10, 20 million people, and they never give this kind of advice. They're just telling people effectively to be demoralized. The first way, and the one that I speak of the most often, is to archive everything. We share out material online every single day. Most people in the developed world use one or more social media platforms as well. I see creators who are dedicated towards free speech, who use new tech, who are sort of hip to it, who understand, for instance, the poison, the censorious crap and lies of the legacy media, still sharing out those articles, and then people click on the article and they're effectively giving traffic, which is counted in site rankings. It affects algorithms, number 1, and number 2, gives ad revenue potentially to the same people that are often attacking the creator who's talking about them. So you have a content creator who gets a hit piece made of them by the legacy media, and they put the legacy media link in their video rebutting it, and give unwittingly thousands of extra clicks potentially to that company, again, giving them more flow. But if they run it through archive.today, which takes a few seconds, and then they share it out, they don't get any revenue. Plus, it's stored for posterity, so that if they say something that's defamatory or later proved to be clearly wrong, there's an archive, a spot in time where you can prove that the lies were actually told. And that can be very, very valuable, because silently re-editing article like Stacey Abrams did on her op-ed with regards to boycotting Georgia businesses before realizing she was doing economic damage to black voters. Not good if you're Stacey Abrams in the current race. I wonder if people there will remember that, by the way. You'll remember she was enabled to do that. If that was USA Today, if I remember correctly, but don't quote me on that because I can't remember. I'd have to go back and find the archived article to know that. So archive everything before you share it out. If you're sending me like news tips, more and more people are doing this, by the way, and I'm glad to see it. I see people using archive.today, especially all over 4chan. Great place for news tips for content creators, by the way. I see it on YouTube. I see more and more people when they send me tips by DM on Twitter or whatever. They're archived. Excellent. Keep up the good work. Always run it through archive.today before you share it out. Don't even send it to a creator to talk about a subject until you've archived it. That's what you need to do. By the way, there's a way around all the paywall gobbledygook on some of these sites. Just copy the link. Don't actually go to the link because it'll give you an entirely different URL once it loads, their pay-to-play scam sort of bullshit. Just copy the link, right-click on it, copy link, and then run it through the archive. Most of these sites will not block the archive from doing so. That's number one. And if all of you that see this video were to do this, hundreds of thousands of dollars of ad revenue just from your collective efforts over the course of the fiscal year would be robbed from these companies. If you can all encourage other people to do the same thing, it compounds. It has a multiplier effect. We could drain billions of dollars from these goofballs, from these morons that keep attacking us. Now, number two is something I suggested specifically after Biden was selected for his current position. Howl, mockery, and ridicule find funny ways to meme it up because it works. Let's Go Brandon is a great example. I did that stickers on gas pumps, and that's just an example for one particular asterisk administration. Non-stop ridicule and scorn. We saw with the story with regards to Biden's Ministry of Truth, the reason that's on hold and that Jackowitz, or whatever her name is, decided to abandon ship was because of trolling. Now, some people say, well, it was a coordinated evil right-wing effort to bully this poor woman. Well, no, that's not what it was. It's activism. It's you shouldn't have a Ministry of Truth. The whole concept is crazy. The concept of having that particular individual in as the head of this sub-DHS group is even crazier somehow. And so people memed it up. And so millions of people were making jokes and harassing, aka criticizing, the concept and the administration and the figures involved. Now it's on hold. Now it'll come back probably in a slightly modified form. They'll have a focus group in order to pitch it to people a second time, but they'll really have to change their language, and these focus groups take 6 months or more usually to operate. So for now we can breathe a sigh of relief because it won't get reincepted before the midterms. They're going to have a lot less friggin' power after that point. So good job with regards to the Ministry of Truth. Keep it up. Always ridicule these people. They hate ridicule. That's why they hate free speech. If a person hates free speech, generally it's because people are speaking against them. You'll notice. Wink, wink. Number 3, get civically involved. As I pointed out at the beginning of this video, voting is useless if there's a no-choice sort of election. This is what we tend to have. What happens is that the rich party elite and the legacy media and the entrenched establishment get together to effectively down-ballot choose who is going to be promulgated in local roles in hopes of them later getting into state roles and then potentially into federal roles. What happens in a more civic activist sense is that you go after those low-level seats, like what Bannon has been doing. Going to precincts, going to voting areas in which the person who oversees the vote, in which the people who have local office and who oversee the election process in part and help to get candidates in there, giving them support in various ways, those people are being forced out. The Justice Dems had been doing this for several years prior, actually. It's not a new idea. And it works, because a lot of these people in these lower offices run unopposed over and over again, and they can be hammered by some outsider if they are capable of getting into a position to do so. To do that, first, though, you need to erode the local party structure. People need to knock on doors. There are people out there, some of you. You're in college or something, right? Summer break comes up. Maybe you don't have a job or it's part-time. Get involved politically. By the way, it can be a stepping stone into a career. You could potentially someday find yourself in a position to run for office. Then you can be like Bernie Sanders and you don't have to worry about working an actual job You can just sign off on papers, give the occasional speech, and it'll be all hunky-dory, and the hope is that doesn't corrupt you to the point where you're saying, hey, I know I'm making six figures, but I really want more kickbacks, so I'm going to start working with a Chinese slush fund. Remember, globalism is a poison. It tends to corrupt the people that involve themselves with it. Just look at the Clintons. Bill looks like his soul left a long time ago. There's nothing inside anymore but demons, maybe. Not the cool kind. And number 4, and this is one that rankles some people when I point it out, improve yourself. Build a new skill. It's not possible for everyone. You're working double shift just to make your rent. I can understand why you don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to reading about engineering or learning about mechanics or how to grow things or something. It's going to be harder to grow things when you don't have any property or something. You're living in a flat. You're living, 5 floors up. You've got your patio plants. You can still grow nasturtium. You can eat those. Kind of not my favorite food. It's edible flowers. Very interesting, by the way. Build a new skill. The more you skill stack, the more detached you can be from the system. The less likely you are to be destitute. The more likely you are to have upward mobility. And the less likely you are to have to rely upon the government teat at any time. You know how to grow food. You know how to can the food. You know how to process the food. Worrying about bread lines is probably not so much of a priority to you. You expect oil prices are going to be all fucked up. Everything automotive is going to skyrocket. But you know how to fix your own car because you read, carburetor magazines or something like that. Build a new skill. Like right now, I'm building the skill of learning how to cook. I already know how to grow the food, but my cooking skills, they could use work. And it's kind of fun, too. When you get into something, by the way, in skill building, try to make it something that you find reasonably entertaining. Like maybe you like music and stuff. You can strum a guitar. Do some online lesson work or something. Learn a few new chords. Learn some new styles. You're completely down and out, but you've got your guitar. At the very least, you've got food in your belly, potentially. Yeah, even if you have to sit there 4 hours a day strumming by the side of the cafe or something, you go into bars and they give you tips or something like that. At the very least, it's better than literally having nothing. Any skill that you have can potentially see you through hard times, and can, in good times, potentially make you rich. So it's a really great idea to work on these things. So again, to recap, always archive everything. For posterity, number 1, fact-checking, real fact-checking, to keep the legacy media to account and to drain them of revenue and traffic for algorithmic purposes. Scorn and ridicule the globalists and their authoritarian elite. They deserve it, so it's not really trolling. It's literally just for the lulz at some point. And that's fun too, at least if you have my warped personality. Get involved civically if it's possible for you to do it on the local level. In some cases, the corrupt person who would be running for a position runs unopposed and wins with 15 votes. Well, it shouldn't be difficult if they're that bad to find 16 people to vote against them for candidate B. Maybe all of the candidates on the ballot suck. Maybe you run for office. And then again, finally, build your skills. Become more self-sufficient. Nobody can do it for you. Relying upon the voting system to improve the way things work requires all of these other things. Knock out the legacy media and their propaganda. Scorn the corrupt. Make sure to shine light. Sunlight's the best disinfectant. Shine a nice big sun lamp on their corruption and make sure other people know that it's actually happening. Some people have fluoride stare and don't know. When you get civically involved, you can potentially have better candidates to vote for. Maybe that candidate ends up being you, potentially. Yeah, all of a sudden a clanker is mayor. I would find that infinitely hilarious. Been talking actually to some people running for office throughout time. And when you build the new skills economically, you gain more independence. That's about all. Peace out.